México, 8 de cada 10 habitantes mexicanos viven en las ciudades. Somos, junto con América Latina, pues la región más urbanizada. México, un país que ha tenido una urbanización creciente, que ya el 80% de su población precisamente vive en estos asentamientos humanos urbanos, algunos que van de los 15,000 habitantes en adelante, pero señalando, como decía hace un rato, que en las zonas metropolitanas vive el 60% de nuestra población. México acaba de aprobar una nueva ley de asentamientos humanos y de desarrollo urbano que sustituye a la que tenía 40 años, donde México era otro, y que permite de alguna manera distribuir competencias entre los 3 niveles de gobierno, plantearse mecanismos de coordinación interinstitucional que permitan darle respuesta e ir construyendo la nueva agenda urbana. Nosotros concebimos a la nueva agenda urbana de Hábitat 3, donde México además fue cofacilitador, a partir de 7 ejes muy importantes. La vivienda concebida no como construcción de viviendas, sino vivienda para construir ciudades, que es una lógica radicalmente diferente. El desarrollo regional para combatir la desigualdad y también la lógica de la inclusión como un elemento fundamental, partiendo de que la ciudad las habitamos diferentes, hombres, mujeres, personas con discapacidad, niños, niñas, jóvenes, y que en la ciudad tiene que plantearse esta perspectiva de inclusión. Nosotros estamos trabajando en esta planeación urbana y gestión eficiente en vivienda sustentable. Además, hemos desarrollado la NAMA de vivienda de manera muy importante, vivienda vertical, intraurbana, vivienda que además tiene tecnologías relacionadas con el crecimiento verde. Quiero decir, por ejemplo, que el 80% de las hipotecas del Infonavit, que es la principal hipotecaria de América Latina y que solamente este año o en el transcurso de la administración del presidente Enrique Peña Nieto lleva más de 1 millón de viviendas entregadas. El 80% de estas hipotecas son hipotecas verdes. El tema de gobernanza metropolitana, en donde ya tenemos ejemplos muy emblemáticos, pongo el caso de Jalisco, que es una de las 3 zonas metropolitanas más importantes del país, que ha decidido que sus fondos metropolitanos, que son recursos federales que llegan a las metrópolis, que pasaron del 2011 a estar en un 100% dedicados a el automóvil, el 98% y al 2% en obras de pavimento. Hoy, en este momento y para el programa 2016-2018, ha cambiado la lógica de inversión de estos fondos a un 77% de fondo verde en transporte público masivo, en bicicleta, y solamente un 23% para vías que tengan que ver con el automóvil. Estas ciudades desiguales implican la exclusión de millones, implican que un joven sea estigmatizado por el lugar en el que vive, implica que las mujeres no estamos en la planeación a pesar de que vivimos la ciudad de manera radicalmente diferente. Las mujeres tememos salir a la calle, las mujeres no tenemos una movilidad lineal, las mujeres vivimos la ciudad de otra forma y, sin embargo, toda esta perspectiva no está presente en la planeación y en la visión de ciudad, y esto es algo que hemos incorporado de manera muy importante en toda esta lógica de ciudades sustentables, de ciudades incluyentes.
I would like to speak something about the experience of Vietnam on green growth, recognizing the role of green growth. In 2012, the Prime Minister of Vietnam has approved a national strategy for green growth, and we have he has also approved the National Action Plan for Green Growth for the period 2014 to 2020.
As was pointed out by keynote speaker, Madam Minister Berlanga from Mexico, cities are nowadays an innovation hub. It's a testbed for innovative policies, also offering good solutions to be benchmarked and to be learned from each other. The flagship program for Sustainable Energy Action Plan for the City of Seoul is called One Less Nuclear Power Plant. It is basically saving energy by 2 million TOE for the first phase, the phase 1, that has been launched in April 2012 and supposed to be finished up by the end of 2014. That 2 million TOE reduction is basically an equivalent to the amount of electricity produced by one average nuclear power plant in Korea. This whole campaign is composed of 3 pillars. One is, as you can see in the slide, the energy generation of new and renewable energy. The second pillar is energy efficiency, improving the energy efficiency over the whole sectors. And the third pillar is conservation of energy. So through those range of pillars, energy generation, energy efficiency improvement, and energy conservation efforts, we have achieved the target of saving 2 million TOE by the first half of 2014, which is 6 months earlier than we have expected at the beginning.
Yesterday, Professor Yip and Mr. Tamaki from the OECD all emphasized the importance of linking the market with government using new business models. And in the private sector, we think this is incredibly important to create sustainable technologies and solutions. We've heard today from the Honorable Minister and from other speakers that cities have to deal with a lot of uncertainty. Human behavior is a very major uncertainty. We live in an incredibly connected society and very mobile society. Then there's uncertainties regarding technologies, regarding infrastructure impacts, economics and policies. So what options do cities have? You can guess, but that's very risky. Or you can undertake very detailed models and forecasting, which is very costly. And this is where we think that smart planning can provide very cost-effective solutions, very practical solutions to create green cities. And I want to raise 3 points here. The first one is that there are, at very least cost and effort, you can integrate technologies which improve performance monitoring, which reduce risk of failure and delivery, and also make cities more resilient to shocks and stresses. And there's some very good examples internationally. For example, in India, you're using LED street lighting integrated with environmental sensors, and which can also be used for Wi-Fi hotspots. And this creates connectivity solutions between infrastructure and people and mobility solutions. Secondly, these systems are generating revenue across public and private sector. And for example, location information are being used by mobility companies to create tailored services and free services. And the third point is it's also relatively easy to procure, especially at earlier stages of the project compared to later on. And if these data management systems are integrated with their cities' billing platforms, then it also creates scale efficiencies for the cities using the one bill philosophy. So I think smart planning has a really strong role in creating green and prosperous cities.
Metro Cebu, the most important metropolitan center in southern Philippines, is comprised of 7 cities and 6 municipalities. It has a land area of roughly 1,000 square kilometers and a population of about 2.8 million, representing about a fourth in land area for the entire Cebu Island and home to about 70% of the entire provincial population. Cebu's shared assets and challenges are multifaceted, multi-sectoral, and multidimensional, and it ranges from the natural resources availability or its constraints, such as that of watersheds and water, whether there is too much, resulting in flooding, or too little, where supply is unable to meet the demand, or too dirty, where present groundwater sources, which is 80% of the supply are contaminated by pollutants and saltwater intrusion due to over-extraction. Social, with increasing population, where the population growth rate is in fact higher than the national average, and in some estimates more than double, as well as urbanization, which now is around 65 to 70% in terms of proportion vis-a-vis rural and urban populations. Third is in terms of the economic opportunities, the need to make growth more inclusive, sustainable, and competitive, providing opportunities for the present as well as the future generations, and of course addressing poverty and inequality, which is rising. The fourth is in fact in terms of physical and spatial, the importance of physical growth that is smart, connected, and sustainable, and thus arresting sprawl. I really appreciate all the presentations made earlier in this regard, because this is something that is really very crucial to us, noting that we are dealing with issues which are transboundary in nature, and that growth so far has been disorganized and unplanned in terms of urban expansion, and where we also have very fragmented governance, and the planning is really done on a very sector level oriented. The fifth one, of course, is climate change and the need to prepare for and respond to the increasing threats of a changing climate and disasters. Note that the Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries in terms of natural disasters. Cebu and the Philippines, therefore, is a hotspot, a potent convergence of emerging growth, increasing population and urbanization, rising inequality, decreasing environmental quality, and increasing threats owing to climate change and disaster risks. Responding to these challenges and aspiring to bring Cebu's growth to the next level, that which is green, inclusive, and sustainable, the Metro Cebu Development and Coordinating Board, or MCDCB, was formed in 2011, not too long ago. MCDCB is composed of public and private sector leaders representing 40 organizations that want change and aspire for a better future, those who want to leave a legacy, and who want to collaborate based on shared interests and directions. It is, in fact, a coalition of the willing, a voluntary platform guided by an agreement which is premised on relevant provisions of the Philippine Constitution and the Local Government Code. Following a participatory process and sharing of best practices, this then led to the formulation and completion of the roadmap for the sustainable urban development of Metro Cebu, which covers 7 sub-roadmaps, including metropolitan competitiveness, urban structure and land use, highway network and public transport, water supply, wastewater and stormwater management, solid waste management, and metropolitan governance. By way of emphasis, the creation and continuing operationalization of Mega Cebu as a public-private sector platform for city-region governance, planning, and development cooperation would not be possible without the openness and encouragement of the public sector leaders, the active engagement and relentless drive of the private sector and civil society stakeholders, and the interest and support of local, national, and international partners, including that of OECD. Together, their dynamism and commitment to making Cebu wholesome and sustainable continue to help shape the present and future Cebu. Capturing the highlights of this process, this slide shows the aspirations and milestones of Mega Cebu thus far, confirming that coordination, communication, and content are keys in facilitating collaboration and building constituency in meeting green growth challenges.